I need a 30 for 30 to show that I'm different like Jordan and Pippen, you bitch. I need a 30 for 30 like Jalen and Webber. Nobody gon' fuck on my clique. I need a 30 for 30. All right, man. Glad to have my brother here again for another edition of How About Them Cowboys. What up, man?
Man, you got it, man. Glad to be back in here with you as always.
Man, I know it's kind of somber. It's kind of a weird situation where you got to win.
Yep.
But you also lost your franchise quarterback, man. So how was your reaction to Dak's gruesome injury?
Just surreal, man. You know, my wife and I watched the game. As you know, she's a diehard Cowboys fan, so as she watched that particular play, she was getting a little excited about it because, you know, he had stiff-armed the guy, picked up a first down in the process. Man, we were moving the ball. So she didn't actually see the injury. I did, and his reaction was one that you knew that it was bad. Anybody that has seen Dak play, even back when he was in college, you know that he's a tough guy. So him not freaking out is expected because he's just that tough of a guy. But you never want to see that, man. You know, even he's my quarterback because I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, but nobody will want to see that happen to a franchise quarterback or any player for that matter, man. So, you know, if this could ever reach the eyes and ears of Dak Prescott, man, I just want to, you know, send out my positive energy to him and just say, hang in there, man, because this is something that you can definitely overcome. And I think you saw the respect and admiration that not only his teammates, but his competitors, his opponents had in that moment when they saw him go down.
Now, my first reaction was anger towards Jerry Jones.
Okay.
We talked about the contract situation privately.
Yep.
I don't know if we really got into it yet since we've been back from, you know, doing these quarantine editions. As a diehard Cowboy fan, as a guy who's much more familiar with y'all salary cap situation than I am, or much more familiar with the guys y'all have paid or the guys y'all may have to pay in the future to sustain your team. How do you think this injury is going to affect Dak's contract negotiations going forward?
So I'll give it to you two ways. And it may be two ways that both sides of the coin can see and say, okay, he kind of hit my side, right? I always like to think that it's somewhere right in the middle. They negotiate. Here's the fact of the matter. Dak and his agent and his team negotiated with Jerry Jones and his side, which is his son and, you know, the organization. I was angry at first too, all right? Because at the end of the day, here's a guy that put himself on the line on a 1-year deal in a franchise tag. And now his career and his future prospects are in limbo. That's happening. That's real. But there's also a side of it that says, well, he was offered, you know, a contract. Now, it may not be the contract that Dak feels he deserves. It may not even be the contract that Ray and Wells feels like he deserves. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, he was offered somewhere, as far as media reports go, in the neighborhood of $33 to $35 million. So that money was there. That money was there. So I don't, as much as I'm a guy that will blame Jerry Jones for a lot of things, I don't I don't want to make it seem like he didn't offer Dak anything, because the fact of the matter is they had a negotiation and Dak bet on himself. Respect to that. The flip side of it is this can happen and then things are in limbo. So if that's one side of it, we're giving Jerry Jones a brief pass to say, well, they did do some negotiating and offered him something. Okay. Here's why I think Dak will be okay. Dak was on pace. This would not have happened, but just by his numbers, Dak was on pace to throw for over 6,000 yards.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So he was having a year where he could have demanded whatever he wanted at that point. Yeah, they weren't winning, but that's not Dak's fault. It's the defense's fault. And the coaching fault and the ownership's fault. It wasn't Dak's fault. He's the one guy that gets a hall pass on this season. So I say all that to say this. As much pain as he's in physically and probably mentally right now because of what he's gone through in this calendar year, not only from his injury, but from losing his brother, it's probably going to be a blessing in disguise for Dak contract-wise, because now the entire organization is exposed. Not just the team, the entire organization, because when you lollygag on negotiations with your franchise quarterback, you leave this opportunity to happen. When you lollygag on negotiating with your franchise quarterback, not just from longevity, but just talk about this season in general, I think Andy Dalton will be serviceable. I really do. But at the end of the day, he is not Dak Prescott. Let's not play around with it. So it's going to be one of those things where the team is fully exposed and you will see how Dak Prescott, quote unquote, covers a multitude of sins. And I really do think worst case scenario for Dak Prescott, Jerry Jones offers him another 1 year franchise tag, right? And so you and I'll sit here and we'll say that's garbage. Rightly
Right.
so. Rightly so. But another franchise tag will be 35 plus million, probably like 37. The best case scenario is Jerry Jones sits back and sees what Dak means to this team and this franchise and how everybody from different sports and different genres of music and, all walks of life have reached out to him to see that he is truly a national icon when it comes to sports and say, man, I need to invest in this. That's the best case scenario. And I think that's a possibility too. Long story short, I don't think Dak Prescott loses in this. I know it feels like it now in the immediate because he's down, he's out 5 months at the very least. But man, I really do think Dak Prescott can look at this in a positive manner and say, either way it goes, I'm going to be okay.
So going forward then, because I saw Andy Dalton make a great throw.
Yeah.
At the end of the game to Gallup. We've seen Andy Dalton in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Be in the playoffs. They always came up short. Now, some people said that was him and his shortcomings. Many people said it was the head coach. Do you think y'all still in position to win this division with Andy Dalton? And I know, I before you get on me, I know that I ain't saying much because of how the division is. But you think y'all still win the division with Andy Dalton?
That's the beauty of it. As much as I'm going to miss watching Dak play, at the end of the day, Andy Dalton can lead this team to a playoff berth. It's got nothing to do with Andy Dalton. It's all about the division we play in, right? We beat the Giants, and at 2-3, we're number one in the division. That's how bad this division is. Dak gives you the ability to enter the playoffs with a 7-9 record, but you can still beat somebody because you have a top-tier quarterback. With Andy Dalton, you may make the playoff, but you're going to lose in the first round. So that's the difference between Dak and Andy. And that's no shot at Andy Dalton. I think, like I said, I really do think he's a serviceable quarterback, but it's a reason he's a backup now instead of a starter. You know what I mean? So that's just the reality. And our defense hasn't gotten any better. We still gave up 30 points to the New York Football Giants. Let's just be real about it. With Daniel Jones and no Saquon Barkley, at the end of the day, they were still in a position to win that game. And it took us a field goal and an Andy Dalton throw and an acrobatic catch to Michael Gallup to win the game. So nothing has changed. Nothing changed from last week besides our franchise quarterback went down. Andy Dalton came in. Michael Gallup made a hell of a catch. Salute to that young man because he's doing nothing but growing. But at the end of the day, nothing has changed besides our starting franchise quarterback has gone down that normally covers those things, and they'll be exposed now moving forward.
Bringing up the defense then, leading up to that game.
Yeah.
We had comments from two of your defenders.
Yeah.
And I guess you were Negro dumbest with that because you basically called it. You said that these guys were going to start, rumbling and start talking and saying things. For those of y'all that may be under a rock, maybe you don't follow the Cowboys like that. Talking about DeMarcus Lawrence.
Yep.
He came out with some comments going at Cowboy fans, right?
Yeah, he was more so going at the fans. Because all of a sudden now we're disloyal because we don't want to see crap football.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what he said. That's what I said. I'm saying that DeMarcus Lawrence got upset because we're upset that we don't want to see crap football from guys who are getting paid top 5 money at certain positions, including him.
Uh-huh.
But whatever. He's entitled to his opinion just like I am on this show. The only difference is I'm not the one that's bragging about how good I am at being a top-tier defensive lineman, but the first play I made was in week 5 of the NFL season. So,
And,
You know,
the other guy was your safety, right?
the other guy is Xavier Woods, who I like,
Okay.
who I
Okay.
really like.
All right.
I, you know, second we'll talk about what he said. First of all, I really do think Xavier Woods is a guy who, like, his play goes against everything he said, which is kind of confusing to me. He's one of our defensive backs, plays safety. To me, he plays hard, but to his comments, it was kind of like he was trying to back Tank Lawrence a little bit and went a little bit too far. For people who don't know, he said you can't expect guys in the NFL to go hard 100% every play. That doesn't
Right.
happen,
Right.
right? He said it never happens. All right. I've never played in the NFL, so I'm going to default to him on that because he is currently playing in the NFL. I
Right.
also default to him because Marcus Spears, shout out to Marcus Spears, the big homie, the OG, who played for the Cowboys, played at LSU, and now works for ESPN. So I want to give him his credit where credit is due. He said the same thing. Xavier Woods is right. It doesn't happen on every play, but you also don't say that,
Right.
right? That's why Spears was so upset because he's like, how can you be so foolish to say something like that? You know what I mean? Especially in the place where you're in now, where you're one of the top 5 worst defenses in the NFL. You can't say that we're not playing hard every play because that's like, then what are you doing? You're one of the worst. And what gets me is you can't say that and then go up against statistically the worst offense in the NFL and let them hang 30.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you really look like you're out here exposed and silly. I want to say something else, but I'm just going to say exposed and silly, and it just makes the whole unit look unprofessional. And it goes back to what I said after week 1, 2, and 3. It's culture. It's culture. When you can say that and get up there in front of a bunch of reporters or virtual reporters, and your coach just got off that same, press conference, and you say that, that means you're comfortable saying that. That means you feel good in your place and space to say that. And again, without Dak, that's going to lead to L's. Anytime you play a team that is better than you, you're going to lose. Anytime you play a team that's evenly matched with you but has better coaching, you're going to lose. And if you play a team that's worse than you that's willing to outwork you on a Sunday or a Thursday or in this climate, Monday, Tuesday, you're going to lose.
Right.
Because that's just the name of the game. Hey, man, you and I have played sports where you don't have to be the best team athletically or have the best players. But if you outwork and get after it, you'll steal a game or two. That's the reality of life, man, in competitive sports. And Xavier Woods just missed the boat on that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think do you think your defense gonna rally and just like, look, the effort goes up, start our guys hurt.
Yeah.
We're gonna hand the ball to Zeke more. He gonna get 25 to 30 carries going forward. And like, what do you see? What does Mike McCarthy do now?
That's a great point that you just made, though. Good coaching would make the adjustment. With Kellen Moore running the offense, I'm interested to see if he will, look inside of himself and understand that we paid $50+ million to do that very thing. You don't have Dak Prescott anymore, so you can't throw it 50 times. You can't expect 500 yards from Andy Dalton. That would be the wrong thing to ask of him, and you'd be doing him a disservice, to be quite honest with you. So why don't you try to switch things up a little bit? Here's what running the ball does, though. You get to control the clock a little more. You keep your defense off the field a little more. You know what I mean? Where they're not being exposed. So you don't have to worry about them blowing big plays. I think if you run the ball, you get to cut down possessions, which keeps your defense off the field, which really does make it a better chance of you winning in this climate. I'm not going to sit here and tell you on this show, though, that the defense is going to start playing better just because Dak is there. They're going to start playing inspired ball. No, they're not. They're going to give up 30 points.
Oh, man, they're going to try to rally, man. They're going to try to rally.
They're going to give up 30 points. If they're on the field the same amount of time as they have been, they're going to give up 30 points.
Okay.
If Zeke controls the game through Kellen Moore and Andy Dalton making smart plays, then we can still be in games. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we are going to stop Kyler Murray, who is one of the young phenoms that is coming up in this game. To me, he's a baby Russell Wilson. Not nearly as good. Not nearly as good.
I feel you, but that's he
But
would
he has
love
that.
he would love that comparison.
But he has that same skill set where he can evade pressure, extend the pocket, make big plays down the field. He don't know it yet, but he has that skill set. So it's one of those things where, like I said, I think we might have said this on the show last week. Cowboys are the type of team that sends guys to college on a full scholarship, and Kyler Murray will make a name for himself, probably against my Cowboys when we play against them.
So they like when Coach Bourne, you tell us we send guys to college on full scholarship.
On a full
Cowboy
scholarship.
defense send guys to the Hall of Fame.
To the Hall of Fame. To the Hall of Fame, man, because
get your bus ready after you play them.
Because as you heard them say, nobody plays hard on every play. Well, those plays you don't play hard, Kyler Murray is going to run for 30 or throw for 50 on that one play. And then Tank Lawrence will be blaming me again. He'll be blaming me again. He'll be blaming my wife. He'll be blaming my uncle. He'll be blaming everybody who's a Cowboys fan. But you know who he won't blame? You know who he won't blame?
Who that?
That offensive lineman on the other side of it. Just saying. My goodness.
That is. How about them Cowboys with Ray? Appreciate you, babe. Love.
Oh, man. Love, man.
Go. Subscribe to our daddy's YouTube channel. He's the best. Hit the like button, turn on the notifications.